All right, let's talk about a really powerful idea. Building wealth that lasts isn't just about the money you make, it's about how you think. We're going to break down 5 mental models for playing the long game. We're talking a 30-year horizon here, and it changes absolutely everything. So let's jump right in. And it really all starts with this. Wealth is such a strange game, isn't it? It's built on patience, but every single fiber of our world today, every market dip, every news headline is screaming at us to be impulsive. It's that exact tension where most people lose the game before they've even really started. You see, the problem is we're often playing the wrong game entirely. Over on the left, you've got short-term thinking. It's all about being impulsive, panicking, and you know where that leads? A plateau. But on the right, that's the 30-year game. It's built on patience, legacy, and resilience. The takeaway here couldn't be more clear. Thinking short-term is the single biggest enemy of creating long-term wealth. So let's really unpack this enemy for a minute, the short-term trap. Why is impatience so incredibly good at sabotaging our success? Well, it really comes down to 3 things that quietly ruin your progress. For starters, it absolutely destroys compounding. When you sell early or pull out your money during a downturn, you flatten that beautiful growth curve. Second, you gotta remember, the markets reward people who can ride out the waves, not the ones who react to every little tremor. And finally, if you're an entrepreneur, you know business is never ever a straight line. Without that long-term vision, you just burn out way before your ideas get a chance to fly. Okay, so if that's the trap, what's the way out? It's all about a strategic shift in how we think. It's about deciding to play the long game by adopting what's called an endurance mindset. And what does that even mean, an endurance mindset? It's not about working harder or grinding more hours. Nope. It's about structuring your thinking, creating a framework for your decisions so that building wealth isn't about luck or timing. It becomes inevitable. It literally becomes your default setting. And that brings us to the real meat of what we're talking about today. We're going to walk through 5 super powerful mental models that are basically the pillars of this endurance framework. Think of these as your toolkit for building wealth that actually lasts. First up, compounding. You've probably heard Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world, but let's look at it a different way. Compounding isn't just some financial formula. It's a law of nature. It's a law of patience. Every single dividend you reinvest, every automatic contribution, it's just another layer on a snowball that gets bigger and bigger, quietly and relentlessly over time. To really put this into practice, all you have to do is ask one simple but incredibly profound question. Before you make an impulsive move, just pause and ask yourself, if I do nothing, if I just let this ride for 20 years, what does it become? That question, all by itself, can shift your entire perspective. Okay, let's get to our second model. This one's a brilliant concept from Nassim Taleb, anti-fragility. Now, most of us try to be robust, right? We want to resist damage. But anti-fragility is a whole other level. See, a fragile system shatters when it's stressed. A robust system survives, but an anti-fragile system, it actually benefits from shocks and chaos. It comes out stronger and better adapted than it was before. So how do we actually build this into our lives? It really comes down to 3 key things. First, diversify your income so one hit doesn't sink the whole ship. Second, build optionality. That means new skills, bigger networks, investments that give you choices when things get weird. And third, and this is huge, you've got to reframe how you see downturns. They're not crisis, they're training grounds. They're opportunities to buy great assets when everyone else is freaking out. Model number 3 is the Lindy effect. This is such a fascinating rule of thumb. It basically says that for stuff that doesn't have a natural expiration date, like an idea or a technology, the longer it's been around, the longer it's probably going to stick around. When it comes to wealth, this is an amazing filter to stop you from chasing every hot new trend. The way you use this is to look at new opportunities through a Lindy lens. Before you jump on the next big thing, just ask yourself, is this built to last? Will this strategy or this company or this asset still be around in 30 years? Or is it just going to be a forgotten headline a decade from now? It really makes you appreciate timeless things like index funds and solid businesses. Next up, margin of safety. This is a classic idea from value investing, but honestly, it's essential for endurance. It's all about leaving a buffer, a cushion, between your plan and total disaster. The goal here isn't to squeeze out every last drop of profit. The number one goal is to make sure you never, ever get knocked completely out of the game by one bad move or one surprise market crash. So what does that look like practically speaking?
It means keeping cash reserves handy for emergencies and for opportunities. It means having enough liquidity so you can actually act during a downturn instead of being forced to sell at the worst possible time. And it means investing in a way that even if you're wrong, and hey, we're all going to be wrong sometimes, the mistake doesn't wipe you out. It's the architecture of being resilient.
And that brings us to our fifth and final model, which might just be the most powerful mindset shift of them all. Systems are greater than goals. Think about it. A goal, like I want to have X million dollars, is a finish line. Once you hit it or miss it, the game's over. But a system? A system is a process that just keeps running, day after day, year after year, compounding results with no expiration date.
The application here is simple. Stop chasing those arbitrary numbers and start building wealth systems. Your focus shifts to creating an environment where growth just happens by default. We're talking about things like automatic savings, scheduled portfolio reviews, investing based on percentages. A well-designed system will always outlast a temporary burst of motivation.
Okay, let's bring all of these models together now. How do we make that jump from chasing goals to actually building a true endurance engine for our financial lives? This little case study just shows it perfectly. You got investor A, let's call them the sprinter. They tried to time the market, got scared during downturns, and panic sold. The result? After a decade, they barely beat inflation. Then you have investor B, the steward. They used these endurance models. They set up automatic systems, kept a margin of safety, and just ignored all the daily noise. Their wealth didn't just grow, it snowballed, quietly in the background. The difference wasn't smarts, it was their mental framework.
And this all comes back to that final critical difference. Goals are brittle. They can break, you can miss them, and that leads to giving up. But systems? Systems are anti-fragile. They're designed to keep going, operating in the background, compounding your effort and your money without end. So, if you only take one thing away from all of this today, let it be this. Building real, lasting wealth is not a race. The 30-year game doesn't reward the person who runs the fastest. It rewards the one with the discipline, the patience, and the right mental models to simply endure.
Which brings us to the final question. And this one's for you. Looking back at these 5 models, compounding, anti-fragility, the Lindy effect, margin of safety, and systems over goals, which one of those resonates the most with you? Which one, if you started applying it today, would do the most to strengthen your own endurance for the long game ahead?